Testing, testing. Okay, is that good? Let's see if that's good. You'll also bring down my gain a little bit. Let's go there. Okay, is that good? Let's see if that's good. We're gonna test my gain right here. Let's see if this is good. A little bit. I'm gonna have the gain right here. Let's go there. Right about here. Okay, is that good? Let's see if that's good. We're gonna test my gain right here. Let's. Whoops. Okay. I think I'm good to go. Okay, and Oh my goodness. I've been yabbering away and my mic was... How did that happen? I don't know how that happened, but whatever. At least I noticed it. I looked up at my Stream Deck and I know my Streamlabs and I noticed there's no audio coming out my mic. I don't know how I did that, but it's not important because I'm here now. So I have no idea when that happened or how much I've been yabbering on that no one's heard me. But I'm doing these for Jack, who you've seen the layout on the channel a bunch of times. It's the one with the Pennsylvania HO scale layout, 1944. And I was saying, I was just touching up the trucks on these. This one and the B&O car that I showed before are both cars that I've already, I was basically already done with. So I've got a few more cars that I want to do. Jack asked me if I could, hey, what's up, Corey? Yeah, I've been working on these cars for Jack, and I figured might as well throw up a stream while I'm working on them, because I was going to be working on them anyway tonight. But yeah, so this car's pretty much done now. I just wanted to touch up the trucks a little bit, but we got just some coal cars. This has been a fun project. Oh, you're not hearing me. Interesting. Huh. 1 minute. Let me... Okay. It says it's working. That's weird. Let me... Give me a minute. Okay, it seems to be working now. But, hopefully you can hear me now, Corey. Okay, let me do a little bit of finagling here. Turn that down, bring myself up. There we go. Now it should hopefully be better. I don't know what happened. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've done a live stream here. So I've kind of figured things out as I go. But there we go. I think this car is done now. I was saying these cars have been a fun little journey for me, figuring it out, because normally all my weathering is for 1970s, 1980s, and very different paints were used. You know, 30s, 40s, 20s, all these cars would be used lead paint, and they don't break down nearly as fast as more modern paints. Of course, the modern paints are much safer to be using, but the lead paints were really good at just staying on there. So I'm not doing nearly as much rusting as I'm doing with my cars. I've been doing a lot more fading. And I've been doing things like at the corners of these letters, kind of underneath these letters, you get, I've looked at a bunch of pictures online, and I found a lot of times under the white lettering you get these nice streaking patterns down the side of the white paint. So I've been doing, some of that. I've already done one whole set of these cars for Jack. Just finished up this one. I was touching up the trucks because I noticed they were a little bit light. Most of the cars I'm not going to be doing the wheel sets on. How long have I been weathering for? I have been doing weathering, I don't even know now, probably 5 or 6 years, 6 or 7 years, something like that. Oh yeah, here's one of the oldest cars that I have with me here that I weathered. It's not great, but it shows you just how long just how far I've come in the past however many years. I really kind of got a lot better about 3 years ago. I just kind of spent the time to look into how different techniques are done and spent a lot of time looking at pictures online of real cars from the eras that I model, and just got to the point where I could consistently figure things out. Yeah, it's definitely it's a process to get there, but it's a fun process. I'll say. I really enjoyed figuring it out over time. I enjoyed. That's the whole reason why I decided to model 19. For my models, my N scale stuff. Largely, I model 75 to 85 because during that time you can beat your cars to hell and back, and they'll look right at home. The Penn Central stuff, the old New York Central, the old Pennsy stuff. Yeah, that's something that I'm only just getting into, is the scenery side, because I don't have a layout. I've just got a couple dioramas that I've made over the years. So the scenery stuff is I think going to be my struggle zone. But because I don't have the layout is why I've spent so much time learning how to do the weathering, especially this time that I've been up here at school. I don't have anywhere to run trains really, so I just take the time to make my trains look good. Let me grab some of my favorite jobs I've done here. Yeah, that one's good. And where did... Is that it? That's a good one. I don't know where that boxcar went. Whatever. I don't know where the boxcar I was looking for went, but these guys are some of my favorite jobs that I've done. I really decided to beat the heck out of some former Pennsy hoppers here, covered hoppers. So this is one of the Broadway Limited H32 models that I patched out to Penn Central and then beat the crap out of them. But I was really happy with how that one came out. Yeah, that's certainly something that I struggled with at first. It helped out for me a little bit because pretty much all of the stuff that I started weathering on, I had like a whole bunch of relatively crappy old Bachmann stuff that I got from my first couple of starter sets, and they gave me a place to really start figuring things out on. But the other thing is, at a certain point, you just kind of have to jump in. I'd recommend starting with some of the stuff you care a little bit less about. But you just gotta kind of figure things out on your own for the most part. Practice. But it's a process of learning. Yeah. So these are some of my favorite guys that I've done. I think I've really become a master of the streaking rust at this point, and the kind of layering effects. That was something that that was when a couple years ago when I started like really getting good. Something that really helped me figure things out was I found an article that would just like took you through step by step of weathering a car, and because I already had the basics down, I was able to kind of get some of the nuances of it. You know what? I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find that boxcar, because that boxcar is the exact car that I'm talking about. at the very bottom of my box. There we go. So a lot of it is without an airbrush. In N scale, getting an airbrush to have the precision that you really need for a lot of this stuff is kind of difficult. But I use an airbrush for a lot of starting passes. So let me get these two out of the way, and I'll pull out the car that I've been talking about this whole time. This car, this Penn Central box car here. This was a project I took from start to finish. It was a Fox Valley kit. I think it was an Intermountain kit. That's what it was. And it came as a New York Central car. You can kind of see a little bit underneath the corner of that Penn Central mating worms. You can see the New York Central oval still. And you can really see it over here. But I got it as a New York Central car. Built the kit, modified it by removing all of the running boards, cutting down the ladders to length, so on and so on, making it, up to date for a 70s and 80s. And then I repainted it to Penn Central, leaving some spots of the old paint, chipping through. And then I weathered it. And this car was a real learning experience for me because I really figured out, with the help of that, article that I was talking about, the process of building up lighter rust underneath and then a small piece of dark rust down the middle, and that really helped me out. But as far as the airbrushing goes, this car, all the fading was done with an airbrush. So obviously the initial painting was done with an airbrush, and then I went over it with a pass of just like white or light gray with the airbrush to just kind of fade everything out and make it feel kind of sun bleached. And then all of the detail work, all the rust and all of that was done by hand. And now a lot of times what I'll do is, instead of using an airbrush, because I don't really have an airbrushing station, so I just kind of have to set it up and take it down. So a lot of times now, instead of setting up my airbrush, I'll use either some oil paint or some, like I'm using now, the Tamiya weathering powder. But also they give, different things give different effects. And a lot of times what I'll do is, on a car, I'll use the airbrush also for a pass of grime down near the bottom of the cars. I'm glad you like it. I'm very happy with it as well. I just got to put some weight in it because it weighs nothing. But yeah, so it's kind of this blending of different techniques is what I found works best. But for these cars, these HO cars that I've been doing for Jack, it's been a lot lighter on the weathering because, like I was saying, the lead-based paints did not really break down, not nearly as much as the other paints did. Actually, let me get a bigger brush for this. So, you didn't get really any rusting. What you got was a lot of grime, a lot of fading. So let me get rid of any dust in here. Clean it all off. And then let me grab one of my wider brushes. That one will do. And I'm just going to hit it. I'm going to go over the whole thing with this powder here to kind of fade out the paint. So it goes from a black to kind of a gray. And that's what you'll find on a lot of, especially darker cars, but all cars. After, a handful of years in the sun and a handful of years getting really worked and beat up, the original paint will be quite faded down. So I give it a little bit of this, you can already see the difference between here and here. I think it's a little bit overdone, but I will fix that in a bit because I'd rather have it Well, I'd rather have it underdone, but also I know I'm going to be doing a lot more on top, so I'm not as worried about it on this car. But that's the nice thing about the powders is it's relatively easy to, if you do a little too much, just go in with another brush and pick it up, and kind of. So this stuff. So if you're using like, which I also use from time to time, if you're using like either artist pastel sticks to shave off and get some powder, or some weathering powder like I'm going to be using later with the soot for the coal dust, it will just kind of come off very easily. But this is this stuff that I'm using here. This is Tamiya Weathering Master Kit, and this is relatively self-adhering. So it's got, I don't know, something in it. It's kind of like makeup, I guess. I don't really know how it works, but it kind of grabs the car, and it stays on in a much nicer way. So you can see it's rather difficult for me to take off any of this powder, which is nice. But I do actually want to get a little bit of it off, so I gotta use like a napkin here to kind of wipe it off. And yeah, I found this Tamiya stuff on a post on Reddit. I think I saw someone posting about having used it, and it's become kind of a go-to for me as of late. It just works really nicely on its own or in coordination with other stuff. It's more subtle effects as opposed to paints or just shaved down pastel powders or anything like that. But it kind of grabs very nicely. Some guys would use a spray glue. Yeah, so what you can do is you could use like kind of a spray glue, or a lot of times what I'll use both before and after. Before to give it the car a little grip, and then afterwards to seal it in there is just some matte medium or some dull coat from Testors or something like that. And when you put the Testors dull coat on before, it'll give more textured surface for the powders to grip. And when you use it afterwards, it'll seal it on there and kind of keep it in, which makes it very easy to handle afterwards, because you don't have to worry about losing any of the powder. But this Tamiya stuff works really well, and I think it was like $15 for this guy, and I've had this now for, I don't know, 6 months, 5 months, something like that. So I've got the two sets. I've got this set which has white, black, and brown, which I use for fading, grime and soot and like dirt. It is meant for, like, a lot of people use Tamiya as like military models, so it's like snow, quote unquote snow, soot, and rust. And then I've got the second set which has orange rust, gunmetal, and silver. But really what I do is I use this for streaking down rust, and then some combination of these for some places on my more modern stuff where some of the paint is chipped away and it's just kind of bare metal, or for more grime and different textured grime. But yeah, this stuff is I've been impressed with it too. So yeah, we'll just give it a little dusting, and already this looks a lot better. You compare side 1 to side 2. Side 2 looks much more real because it's not just shiny plastic. So I'll do the ends in a bit, but we're gonna start off by getting everything nice and faded out. And then we'll move on from there. But yeah, Corey, I was actually kind of inspired by you to do the stream tonight because I was watching your Sunday night run night the other day, and I was like, huh, I should stream again. It's been a while. So I decided tonight, since I've got all my work done for the rest of the week here, as far as schoolwork goes, at least until I get more tomorrow. I've got all my schoolwork done, so I figured, I'll do some weathering and throw on the stream and see if I can chat with some people online. This one I'm just doing kind of off the cuff. I've looked at a bunch of, I can actually see if I can pull one up here. I've looked at a lot of pictures of cars from the 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s before I started doing these. Let's see, 1940s coal hoppers, I think. Not cow hopper, coal hopper. I think is what I was looking at a lot of. Let me do colorized. Actually, nah. Let's not do colorized. This is fine. These are fine. Let's see if I can get some prototype images here, not just models. It's not really the right era. That's the thing, is I just kind of found some stuff at some point that I was like, oh, that looks, within reason. And then it's just so hard to find pictures from that era online that aren't in black and white or aren't like build photos. Let's see, coal hopper. Let's do colorized. It's so hard to see. My lamp is in the way of my screen a little bit. Alright, well. Let's see here now. I'm just trying to find a picture that kind of shows some of the effects that I'm going for here. It's so hard to find these things online. As soon as you're looking for them, they're gone. Well, this website I think was one that I was looking at. Yeah, it's really hard to find. No, that's more like what I would. That's more 70s. That's like what I do with most of my stuff. How did I find these pictures? I don't know where I found these pictures that I had been looking at in the past. Maybe PRR coal hopper? Is that what I was looking at? Because it's like all either older stuff or it's just so hard to find something in the middle. Yeah, well that kind of shows. Yeah, that's a model, but that kind of shows some of the effects that I'm going for. Copy image address, and I come over here. Ooh. Paste that there. And if I turn this on, there it is. You can see that's kind of like what I'm going for a little bit. At least in the right ballpark. I'm just gonna look a little bit more here, see if I can find a better one that's not a model. 1940s coal train, maybe that'll do. Yeah, so I can pull back out the other car that I was looking at originally. And I can talk to you about that while I'm pulling this up. And pull out this Lehigh Valley car again. So the trucks are a little bit temperamental, depending on what you want. So for these trucks, what I did was I just I painted over the journal boxes and the. Oh, let me pull into frame that way, or let me actually kind of make this smaller. There we go. But I painted the journal boxes and springs with kind of rusty paint, which is just a combination. I used a combination of like orange and brown, like dark brown, to kind of mix an acrylic rust color. And I used that with a combination of that and this Vallejo model color rust, light rust, I believe. Yeah, light rust wash is what this is. I don't even remember where I found this. I've had this for a long time. But this is nice. And I used this. I did a coat of the paint on the wheel sets themselves, and then a wash of the light rust wash on top of the paint once the paint has mostly dried. And that's given me a pretty good, rusty wheel set color. And then for the black of the trucks themselves, I just use either the powder or some of my oil paint. A lot of times I'll use the oil paint because it's a different type of plastic a lot of times on the trucks that doesn't grip as nicely, I found. So the paint sticks a little nicer, but just to kind of take away that shiny black of the plastic and kind of give it a little grime. And then sometimes I'll go over with some brown powder or some gray powder or some black powder just to give it a little bit more grime to it. And that's kind of generally my process on trucks. Sometimes I'll do a little more, sometimes I'll do a little less. Like going back to my N scale stuff, these trucks I really just kind of hit with the looks like the white wash of the powder, and that was really all I did on these, and that was enough for me. Maybe a little bit of rust powder on there just to give it a little bit more grime. So it's kind of, a lot of times it's a give and take, but this one I'm not quite as happy with, but it's not bad. And on this one I just kind of painted rust on everything, just using the rust paint. And I haven't done the wheel sets yet, I don't think. No, I've done the wheel sets a little bit, but I don't know if that was real intentional now that I'm looking at it. But that's kind of really my process on those things is, rust the wheel faces. You got to be careful to not get the treads of the wheels or get the pins, not the pins, the axles. Because that'll inhibit the rolling of the wheels in the truck. So you can either cover those up or just be careful around those. But and do those separately, and then pop them back onto the truck, and then do the truck face itself. As far as fading it, a little bit of rust under the journals, a little bit of rust on the springs, and that's generally my what I do. Put this one away while I keep looking here for a better reference picture to show what I'm trying to get done here. Maybe one day when I get around to getting over there, Corey, I'll have to work with you to help you figure out some weathering techniques. Let's see. There's no real good pictures. I don't know where I found these pictures that I had originally been looking at, but they're lost to time, I suppose. Well, this is a decent representation of kind of some of the effects I'm going for, although it's a little bit, it's not quite as overall. Kind of what I'm going for, but it's not bad. Alright, let's bring this red ink back in here. Oh boy, we've got an ad on my music. Okay. Let's get back to fading out this Reading car. An important thing to not neglect on, especially on stuff like coal cars, but also for box cars and covered hoppers, is you want to make sure you don't neglect the underside of the car, because if you've got a nice, you know, faded, weathered, you know, part of the car, and then you got a nice clean underside, it's not going to go so well. Yeah, so I'm really thinking about setting up a online shop to do this for people, because I'm looking to get a little bit of money. But yeah, I mean, I'd also, like I said before, I also like to teach people. I enjoy helping people figure things out for themselves. So if I come over sometime, maybe we can work together on helping you pick up some skills as well. But I'd love to, if you're just looking for me to do some for you, I'd be more than happy to do some for you as well. Yeah, I'm sure some weathered cars would look real great on Littleville as well, because the scenery you've done is just wonderful on Littleville. And you know, some nice weathered, beaten down trains would look good on there too. Let's get a little bit of fading up here. But yeah, I've been thinking about, for a couple years now, I've been thinking about starting a business of doing this for people. But I've just never gotten around to it because school has been too busy, or I don't know. Things have gotten in the way. And, you know, it's finally getting time now. I'm in my last year of school here. I finally have a little bit more time in my schedule. And I'm looking to make a little bit more money in addition, to finding a real job. I'm looking to make a little bit of money. So I think this is finally the time for me to really get serious about starting that up. But yeah, we're just gonna get the inside of the car faded too. All faded out. There we go. Let me get that big. Where did I put that big brush? There it is, hiding between all the boxes. And just kind of really hit everything with a large brush here to even things out inside a little bit. Just hit over everything. There we go. Okay, so now next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get these letter streaks going. Where did the brush? That's the brush I used for that in the past. Grab some of this. And yeah, for this streaking, what I've done is basically just I take a little bit of the white powder here on my I've got this chopped down brush to just, maybe 1/8 of an inch of bristles, maybe less. So just a stubby little brush. I get some white on there, and then I just go to the edges of the letters and pull it down. Just like that. And then it gives me the effect that I was looking for. I don't even remember where I first saw someone doing this effect. It might have been, because last year, let me see if I can find those pictures. Last year, around this time actually, last year I was, Sure thing. It was happy to. I was happy to chat with you too, Corey. But let me see if I can find these pictures. Last year around this time, I was weathering cars for another friend back closer to home, and I gotta see if I can pull up the pictures of the Phoebe Snow box car that I did for him. But yeah, it's good to talk to you, Corey. I'll shoot you an email sometime soon, and I'll have to get over there sometime because I'd love to see your layouts again. It would be a pleasure. But glad you could hop in and chat a little bit. I'll see you around. All right, let me see if I can Google. Pull up these images. It would be from 2023 February, maybe January, maybe. Ah, there it is. Where's the box car? There we go. Copy image address. Let me do it like this, actually. Let me do it like this. Excuse me. Downloads. There. So this car here, it's the first time I tried this technique, and I used a lot of actually airbrushing on this car. All of the grime you see along the bottom of the car there, especially around the corners of the car, that was all done with the airbrush. And I was happy with how that car came out, and the guy who I was doing it for was happy with how that car came out. He wanted this car not really super weathered because he liked the root of the VP Snow on there, but so I just did a little bit of the oh boy, someone's got somewhere to be. Just a little bit of that streaking and some grime, and it came out really nice, and he was happy with it, I was happy with it. So but we're just gonna keep on pulling down the bottoms of these letters here, and keep going. It's these letters with a nice wide base are always honestly more difficult for me to get just right. Oops. Because it's harder to tell exactly where it's going to come down from and harder to kind of suss that out. Whereas like the A or this I, where it's just a nice straight down line where I can just pull it right down. Let me actually get one of these brushes here to really pull it down. There we go. Let's get right along that end. There we go. Yeah, these letters with the slants are always difficult too, because it's like, is it just going to come down from here, or is it going to come down along the whole slant? A lot of times I just do it along the whole slant, just because I think it's a little better that way. It gives it a little bit more of a streak, so it adds to the effect. And then things like this and the D, I kind of have to do a little bit on the inside as well, just to make it seem like it's not just the bottom of the letter that's pulling down, because it would realistically it'd be the whole thing. So I do that, and then with these smaller letters I usually just kind of do my best to come down from where they are and then just pull straight. because it's not quite as easy to work it out. It's not really to the point where on an N scale car I wouldn't really be able to do it at all, but on HO it's just big enough that I can still give it the effect. And then the reporting marks. There we go. And a little bit of numbers. Yeah, these cars, these cars, I've really just kind of been using powders because I find they're easy. And then also, the nice thing about powders is if I look at it and I'm like, ah, shoot, I've done a little too much, I just take like a nice, you know, a wet paper towel, like slightly damp paper towel, go over the whole thing, it's all gone. I'm back to a fresh car. So that's the nice thing about getting the with cars like this, that it's not mine, is and that it's just kind of a light job. That's the nice thing about the weathering powders. But paints definitely have their place. I mean, stuff like this. This was almost entirely paint, I believe. I believe really the only thing is this kind of over rusting, this large streaking everywhere. That was, well, no, because that was this, I think, actually. So I don't even know if I used any powders on this car. Nah, I must have. I think I just gave it a dusting over with some rust powder, which I have a little, not rust powder really, but powder that is rust colored, which usually I make from, I've got these Artist Pastel 6. I just take, you know, I got these at, I don't remember, AC Moore or something. But I just take some of this color, some of this color, some of this color, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, mix it around. And I've got a little guy, a little, I mean, it looks like a film canister, but it's not. It was, used to be for my test strips for my diabetes. But you can see in there, if I just, come on, come on. Really doesn't want to come out. There it is. A little bit of rust right there. And I've, you know, it's just I've gotten to the point where I know the mixture pretty well, that I can figure it out by just kind of doing it by sight. But that's one of the things that has come with practice, is that ability to do things by sight and by, I guess really mostly feel. I'm just like, that's about enough shaved. That's about enough of the pastel stick that I've shaved into my little guy here to get the right mixture of reds and browns to have some rust coloring. Let's get some streaking on the reporting marks on the end of the car. Ooh, that might be a little too much. There we go. That's better. Okay, let's do the other side. I'm just going to take some of this powder again. Come right down the side of the car. There we go. Okay, back to the little guy. Pull it down. Right along there. There we go. And same here. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. There we go. Tap a little bit inside. There we go. On the E. We're going to kind of do a diagonal. Or try and do a diagonal. It's not really working out too much. Let's see if I can kind of shape this out a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Trying to get this diagonal kind of curving here. So it's like more paint is coming down there, but it's not really working out, and it's not the end of the world. There we go. REA. Let's get this D. There we go. That's kind of the effect I was trying to get. Oh, and the other one was that slant. Down under the eye. There we go. The N. And let's get the G. Okay, and then I'm just going to go over all of it and really just pull it downwards. There we go. Nice. Good, good, good. And reporting marks on the end of the car. Okay, and then what am I going to do next? I think next maybe I'll do a little bit of grime. Alright, yeah, let's get some grime going now. So I'm going to take this guy. And we're just going to pick up a bunch of this dirt coloring. And you know what? We're going to try something out here. Where did I put my rust powder? There it is. I'm going to grab just a little bit of my rust powder to add a little bit of color to this grime. And hopefully by combining the color of the rust with the stickiness of the Tamiya powder, get some nice adherence and color. Yeah, there we go. Goodbye, advert. I don't even remember where I'm still trying to remember where I found the pictures that I used to base this off of, and it may be that I didn't. I just kind of combined a bunch of pictures in my head and figured out something that looked good. I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't remember. But that's very possible. That's what happened. But I found you kind of have a little bit of a wave following the shape of the car here. I find that looks good. You know, it kind of comes up in the middle here where you got dust kind of kicking up like that, and then obviously a lot of dust kicked up here and here around the trucks, around the wheel sets, but also just kind of in these corners here. I don't know, I just find it looks good like that. Like that looks great. I think I'm gonna add a little bit more dirt here in this corner, but like, man, all of a sudden that's a dirty train car, you know. All of a sudden it looks wonderful. Well, it doesn't look wonderful, but that's the point. It looks dirty. Yeah, I'm glad Corey could hop in a little bit here. It was good to chat with him a little. Alright, let's get some dirt on the underside. I'm also going to try and get some dirt in here. Down in here. Because that's where the wheel sets would kick it up. It's into the slope of the bay here. So I'm trying to get a little bit of dust in there and then up like this. That's pretty good. You also don't want to overdo it, so I think that's fine. Subtle enough. Okay, get some more dirt on here, and I'm going to grab a little bit more of my powder for the car. It's a nice thing is that the rust powder coloring here is quite multi-use, because it also, you know, on the darker background like this, that it could just be dirt. Scrape a little bit more of this, because again, this brown for some reason seems to get matted down quite a bit more than the other two colors here. Well, the black is pretty matted down. So I find with coal cars like this, it's a balance. On black cars, you need more grime, because the coal dust is not going to stick. It's not going to show up quite as well. But on brown cars, like that Lehigh Valley car I had out before, you need more black on the bottom, because the brown doesn't show up. So it's a little bit of a back and forth kind of a game between, you know, making sure both colors show up, but also making sure that it looks dirty and not just like kind of bland. There we go. That one's good. Get some of this down here and some of this down here more. Boom. Dirt. There we go. Dirty cars. Let's get the inside here. The inside of the car is going to get just as dirty, if honestly not more dirty, than the outside. Because coal is dirty. It's not just all black. It's got a lot of dirt still in with it. And something, if you look at, especially 40s, 50s pictures of coal mines, there's a lot of dirt around. So these cars get real dirty. Not just grimy from coal, but really legitimately dirty with dirt. So I gotta really get that dirt all up in there. Pull it kind of up the sides of the car, up the slopes of the car. Down the slopes of the car. All directions in there. I'm going to try and get it in there. And especially down towards the bottom here. They get into the corners and all the edges and things like that. And there we go. Alrighty, this is looking great. Something I want to do actually while I'm here is I want to get the top of the car with a bunch of dirt. So hard to get it on this top face because it's just so thin. But I gotta not neglect it, because otherwise it just looks weird. Now let me see if I can pull up some pictures of the other cars I did for Jack. One. Yeah, there they are. So it's in here, in here, in here. There we go. If I pull this image back up here, pull that open. There you can see the other cars I've done for Jack so far. So these and these two, there's one in here, and then this whole back row is the cars that I'm doing, or some of the cars I'm working on right now. These cars all up in front here, these are the cars that I've already done for Jack. Alright, you need to be quiet, Ed, please. Thank you. But yeah, so these are the cars I've already done, and Jack was very happy with them at the last session. But you can see, you kind of get a sense of what I was saying about the black cars versus the brown cars. These black cars, I get a lot more of the, brown dirt on them. These brown cars, I get a lot more of the black coal dust on them, especially down here on these Penske cars. And then you can also see some of the variety in how much streaking I've done. I think they came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with them. Jack was pretty happy with them too, and honestly everyone at the session was. They were all pretty psyched to see the train cars actually weathered, because I'd say probably 80%, 90% Jack's cars are unweathered, just because, you know, he spends all his time on a combination of track work and the electronics. He's only, you know, just recently getting around to doing the work on the scenery on his layout, much less weathering cars. I don't know what my watch just did, but sure. Oh, let me actually sign up for this before I forget. Actually, no. We're gonna do that, and we'll just leave it. Okay, that's fine. Ignore me. Alright, and now we get to the really dirty part for me, which I don't really love, but I gotta do carefully because I've got a nice white shirt on here, which is the black powder. Of course, not black powder, but the coal powder. And I think I've been using this brush for that. So this stuff, very fine powder. So actually, let me, before I start kicking it up in the air, I'm gonna actually grab a mask, a face mask, to try and keep as much of it out of my airways as I can. So let me run over and grab one of those real quick. If I can just, whoops, not that one. That one. There it is. I'll be right back. Let me just do that. That way you can witness the car while I run and grab a mask. Okay. Actually, let me change my shirt to a shirt that I care a little bit less if it gets so dirty. Because this bright white shirt would not be so good if it got black powder all over it. Sure, we'll get this shirt on. Okay, much better. Alright. Headphones back on. Turn my camera back on. Hide those because those are unnecessary. I should probably just delete those, but it's fine. So yeah, I just got myself a pretty standard COVID mask because it does the job of keeping the particles out. So that's all I really need. So let's get this out of the way. You'll see here in a minute once I start really brushing this on just how much it kicks up. Okay. Then grab this and just. Look at all that dust. Fun stuff. Oh boy. Yeah, this stuff is pretty fine. And when it comes to like coarseness versus fineness of grain of powder, this stuff very fine. Look at all that dust. Just got kicked up. Oh, you can't even really see that on the camera, huh? Not really. Yeah, so the reason I was kind of not too worried about overdoing things on this car is because at the end here I'm going over a lot with the coal dust, which covers up a lot of what I would have done. So that's why I'm not as worried as I normally would be about overdoing things. As a general rule of thumb, you can always add another coat. You can always add another layer. You can always do another pass. You can't, it's much harder to take things off than it is put things on the car. But in this instance, it's okay because I'm covering. Ooh. Okay, oh, what is this message that I just got? Probably not important, but you know. Yep, not important. Okay. Back to work. So now I just have to get the inside of the car here and the top, and then this car will be done. Let's move on to the next guy. That's not true. I'm gonna get the couplers and the at least the faces of the trucks. So on the inside here is really where you can see the how little the black shows up on the blade. The coal dust shows on the black as compared to the brown. But also you can see how much the black covers the brown back up when I overdo things. There we go. Nice and dirty. The car itself now, pretty much done. So what I'm going to do, before I move on to anything else, I'm going to grab my little cleanup tissue. Tissue is the word for this. I've been using as I've been working to clean, to weather some cars. I've kept this to the side here to either dab paint onto or wipe up a mess like this. There we go. Good, good, good. Or at least a lot better. It's not just raw powder spilled out everywhere here. Okay, so I can take this mask off now. Oh, okay. I'm pretty happy with that. I think that looks good. Let me, oh, I gotta grab my brown, I forgot to grab my paint for the coupler. whole mess over there. Trying to grab this orange paint. Brown oxide, brown oxide. Those are the two paints I usually use to make my rust color. Sometimes, oh actually I need that one too. I need the silver for the tip. Sometimes I'll throw in a little bit of, what's it called? Like a burnt umber or like a red oxide, but for the most part, brown oxide and orange, or pumpkin orange in this case, is all you'll really need to make a pretty convincing rusty color. Where did my palette go? Oh boy, hold on. Okay, I have no idea where my palette went, so I might just have to snag a piece of... Oh, never mind. That's what that's something I can use. That's what I had these here for. Got these paper plates that a lot of times I'll use for a palette because I have a real palette somewhere. I don't know where it went. Well, let me, before I knock this over and make a massive mess everywhere, get that out of the way. Okay, let's make some rust. Move the car out of the way. This is only one plate, right? Yes, good. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of this. That's plenty. Put that out of the way behind there. A little bit of this. That's plenty. And then take a little brush. Like this guy. And we will make a little bit of rust coloring. I used to have a little glass paint jar that I made a bunch of rust coloring in, and I would just use that every time so I had a consistent color. And it worked well, and sometimes I would add just a little bit of black, a little bit of white to it to change it up a little. And then that jar broke, and I spilled paint all over the place, and I was upset. So now I have to mix my own every single time, which is fine because it means there's a little variety in the colorations, but it is a little bit frustrating because I had a nice perfect mixture. Okay, we're gonna do it like that, get a little on the tip. But yeah, so that's all I really needed to do, and that's a convincing rust color. So the only thing you have to be careful about with acrylics is they pull pretty easily, but they don't really, or they don't really come out smooth. You leave a lot of brush marks, so you got to be a little bit careful about that. Oh shoot, I did it in the wrong order. No. No. Oh boy. Alright, well that's fine. We'll just save that one for last for lightening the trucks. Normally I lighten the trucks first, that way I'm not lightening the color of rust, because that's just incorrect. So let's use the same powder that we were using before. Brighten up. There we go. Look, you compare truck 1 to truck 2, this looks a lot better than this. Okay, let me get the other side. And I'm just doing a combination of brushing and dabbing the, just kind of jamming it on there, squishing it in to get this nice faded effect going. Go. Okay, and now let's do this one that I was letting dry. And there, that right there, that's why I do the fading first and the rust second, because then you get this weird white rust. That's not right, so I'm gonna have to go over that again. There's the rust paintbrush. So let's go back over that. And a little bit underneath the bearings. And then just a little bit more in a couple of random spots. Just because. And then the next truck. Into the springs. And with this stuff, almost every time I do 2 coats regardless. Just because it's makes it a little bit thicker of a color and just makes it a little better. Come back here, paintbrush. Okay, let's get. Let's get a little bit. A little bit. A lot of times with this, I'll just squirt a little bit into the cap because it really doesn't need much. It's a wash. It's not supposed to be, you know, real super thick coat of anything. It's just a wash. So I just do a little wash over everything, but especially over spots I've already rusted. And it just adds that extra bit of oomph. And then the last step is going to be, for this anyway, it's going to be going over with some brown, some dark brown oil paint, because I find that works nice. So we'll let that sit for a moment. Well, I'll go to the other side. Pardon me. Oh my goodness. Yuck. Okay, let's get some brown paint down there, around there. Bunch in there. In the springs. Get a little more paint on my brush. A little more paint in there, a little more paint in there. More in there, up there, in there. Okay, now squirt a little more of this. Actually, I'm just going to grab it right off of the bottle and hit it. Gotta let the paint dry all the way. There you go. Oh, give me a moment here. I gotta check my phone. Gotta see what's going on here. One second. Okay, there we go. Got that squared away. And that gives a good amount of time here for this stuff to have dried. So let me take some oil paint. Put a little bit of oil paint on the board here, or not board, plate. Plate is the word for that object. Okay, and then I take one of these little brushes. Oh geez, don't get paint on the mask because I'm gonna need it for the next car. There you go, take this little brush, itty bitty little thin brush. Let's get a little bit of this, and this is just some literal, it's what color? Brain work. This is called Van Dyke Brown by Winton. oil colors. Winsor and Newton paints. But it's basically just like a burnt umber, or like a very dark brown. And you can do this with acrylic paints too. I just use the oil paint because it's also multifunctional. I can streak it a lot easier with the oil paint than I would with an acrylic paint. But I can just go in right kind of in the middles and add this. And this is like active rusting spots. So the light color is rust kind of just on the outside, or rust flakes really, while the dark brown is the spots where, you know, it's actively rusting away. Where'd my little toothpick go? I had a little toothpick here somewhere. Put it in here? No. Where'd my toothpick go? I had a little toothpick for exactly this reason. I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. It's back here. I just got to get this little globule of oil paint out of here. There we go. Now I don't know that really there would be any dark rust on the springs, but I think it looks good, so whatever. You know, at the end of the day, rule of cool wins. So we're just gonna right here with dark, right in the middle of these patches of light coloring. We're gonna put some dark right in the center of them. And again, I really don't know that there would be realistically any on the springs themselves, but rule of cool. If it looks good, I think it does, then it goes. Okay, we're gonna get right in the middle of these patches. Again on these here, right here. There we go. A little bit right in along the edge there, and into that. And there we go. Trucks are now done. Like I said, I'm not going to do these wheel sets because they don't have the resistors on them. I don't know if I said this before or after my mic cut out or brought in, whatever. Before or after I realized my mic wasn't working, I don't remember. But on the Lehigh Valley car, the reason I did the trucks so well and the wheel sets and everything is because those wheel sets are all have all been replaced from the stock ones on that car, and one of them has a little resistor on it. And Jack puts the resistors on some of his wheel sets, eventually on all of them, but for now just a handful, because he's getting around to it slowly but surely, so that his system of CTC and signaling and switches and all that, the computer system can read the extra draw from the resistor and say, oh, there's a train there. And this one, as you can see, no resistors on any of these wheel sets yet. These are all just the stock plastic wheels with a metal frame or metal axle. So I won't be doing those yet, but what I will do is I will do the couplers. And I'm just going to use my same rusty orange for that. I might add a little bit more brown, but we're just going to go ahead and paint the whole coupler. We're going to be careful around the areas where things move. Careful to make sure that we're not gunking up the works. I'm always making sure of that, but we want to get it all the way around. So it's a little bit of a, you know, give and take. And on top face of the coupler. Oh, I'm out of frame. There we go. And then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just wiggle the coupler back and forth by the uncoupler wand here while the paint is drying to make sure that the mechanism still works fine. And then I'll go back over with a second coat. Second coat over all this stuff. And then I gotta take a brush and make sure I clean off the Alkali-Magnetic itself, because I don't want that to look rusty. That's just supposed to be a hose at the end of the day. I want this to look like a hose for a brake line. That is the goal. So I just gotta make sure this is all well coated. Make sure the mechanism still works fine, which it does. There we go. And then I'm gonna hit it with my wash to really pop that color. Bring out the kind of redder tones. There we go. And then we take a little brush, one more little brush out. That's the thing about weathering, you gotta have a lot of little brushes. Or be constantly cleaning up. Take my silver paint here. Oh, come on. Rather than putting it on the plate, because this silver paint that I have is notoriously runny for me. So I just use the inside of the cap here. Once I shake it to make sure it's well combined, there's always a little bit on the cap, and I just go ahead and use that, and I paint a nice little silver end on there. To appear like the end, the attachment end for the brake line. And there we have a completed coupler. Of course, it still needs a little bit of time to dry, but I just, while that's drying, I'll go ahead, switch to the other side, get to work over here. Silver, brown, got it. Okay, grab my rusty brown on my brush again. There we go. Oh, a little too much on the brush there. Get some of that off. There we go. Cover up all of that. Top face. Inside, just clean it out. Nice Saxo logo, nice and relaxing as I keep on working this. There you go. Let me actually see if I can do this instead. By the way, if you're interested and you haven't checked it out yet, I just put up a new video the other day of, ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. Well, let's see about doing this. Yeah, I can just do one of those moves. I'll let this song finish up. Okay, instead of doing that, I'm going to do this. We're going to use the music that you normally hear in the videos. That's better. No, we don't get any ads. But yeah, if you are at all interested, you can go ahead and check out that new video I put up on my channel. I got in the mail my, grab it real quick, beautiful new set from Kato, the Rainbow Era set. It's got 4 Penn Central cars, 4 Amtrak Phase 1 cars, and I ran it. That's a mess. I'll clean that up in a moment. And by in a moment, I mean after the stream. But yeah, so in my video, I did a little review of that whole set, ran it with this guy, which I don't know if I've showed on this channel before the video that just came out, but I took an old Lifelike E8 model and did some pretty extensive modifications to it to turn it into Amtrak 4316, which is of course the first locomotive that Amtrak ever painted. It's the quote-unquote day one scheme. It's got a big pointless arrow with some high-vis stripes on the front. It's former Penn Central E unit. I did some modifications to it, including filling in the lower headlight. That's the words that I was looking for. So if you look at the front there, there's no lower headlight because I filled it in. I also filled in all the porthole windows along the side of the car, or car body. And generally made it, you know, up to date for 1971 as a former Penn Central locomotive and as a time Amtrak locomotive. Got that all up to date. It's a fun project I did last summer, but it looks really good running with my set, my brand new set here. And the set also looks great running with my classic SDP40F. Both of these locomotives, I still have to figure out how to get DCC in. Well, I don't have to figure out how to get DCC in this guy. I can do it, but I want to send it away. I want to get it installed with sound, and I want it to sound good and look good and everything. So I'm gonna send this one away, but I don't have the money to do that right now. So that's a later problem. And yeah, the E8, I just don't have the skill to install in an older locomotive like that yet. I'm still figuring out DCC as far as how to install things goes. Okay, let's take the Wash, give it a wash. Inside the coupler face and everything. Make sure it all moves nice. That way it's functional. And then let's get the, where's my silver brush? There's my silver brush. Get the silver on the tip of the magnetic trip pin. And there we go. Let that dry for a minute, but that is a completed car. So I'm gonna let that dry for a moment. And while I do that, I'm gonna run and grab a cup for water so I can rinse these guys out and then, or rinse these brushes out. And hopefully by that time this will be dry and I can put it out to show it to you, and I'll start on the next one. I don't know if I'm gonna stay streaming for the whole time of the next car, but we'll see. In the meantime, let me go to my be back soon screen, and I will be right back. There we go, I'm back. Alright, let me rinse off these brushes. Ooh, yucky. There we go. Let's wash off that brush. I'm just going to wash off the ones that had paint or other substances, not the powder brushes will get washed, but it's not as critical because it's not like the paint where the paint's going to dry on there and then become a real pain in the rear to get off. Like, I'll wash the other brushes once I'm done for the night. Also, I might hop off stream here for about an hour. We'll see. But I will come back afterwards. We're going to find out. We are going to find out. We're going to see, because I might be talking with my family a bit for a little while. We're going to see what they want to do. Okay, let me put tops back on some of these paint bottles, not paint brushes. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and lay this down, get this out of the way. And there we have it. That is a completed car. There's the one side, there's the car end, there's the other side, and there is the other end. And there's the inside. I'm pretty happy with how this car has come out. So I think I'm gonna you know what? I'm gonna hop off stream for a little while here. I'll be back. Well, either I'll be back or I won't. We're gonna find out. But I'll probably be back on stream in about an hour, hour and a half. We'll see. But yeah. In case I don't come back, in which case I'll be back tomorrow night. If I don't come back tonight, then I'll be back tomorrow night, doing the same thing. But and I might be back tomorrow night anyways, because like I said, I have 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. I have 4 more cars to do this to before next weekend. So I'm hoping to get them all done tonight, tomorrow. But I might hop off here for a little while and then come back. I just want to check. I'm just trying to figure out when we want to call. But I'm very happy with how this car has come out. I'm going to go ahead. The only step left to do on this, which I'm not going to do on stream because it involves figuring all that stuff out, and getting everything all cleared out and go into a space where I can spray. You know, that is, I got to seal it on there, and I got 2 ways to do that. I've got either this little rattle can of dull coat, or I have my I've got a bottle of dull coat that I can put in my airbrush. Either way is fine with me, but I have more of it in the airbrush. But either way, I need to kind of clear space, so go out back outside and spray. That way I don't get all the crud in my breath. But yeah, so I am gonna hop off now. I'm gonna get back online, like I said, probably hour and a half. And if I don't, then I will certainly be back tomorrow. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm happy I shared this with y'all. But we're gonna grab this, bring me into full size in the middle here. There I am. So yeah, thanks for hopping on tonight, anyone. If I'm not back on, I'll see you tomorrow. If I am back on, I'll see you within a couple hours. But just in case, have a good night, anyone. Thanks for tuning in.